Give me a moment, everyone. All right, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me and see me? Okay, I think that was Charlyn Martin said yes. Okay, just if one more person can confirm. Great. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, everyone. One moment. All right, everyone. Today, this is my first podcast. It's called Daena Londo Talks. And today we will be taking a look at the 2024 Democratic primary election. We have some candidates here tonight who want our vote in Salem County. So up first, we are going to speak with U.S. candidate, U.S. Senate candidate, Mr. Lawrence Hamm. So let's see here. Okay. See if I can get Mr. Hamm here. Larry, you should have an invite to enter the studio. There he is.
Yes.
How are you, Mr. Hamm? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great, great. Thank you for joining us this evening. Everyone, I want to introduce to you
Very
Lawrence,
good.
better known as Larry. So I'll
Good
refer to
evening.
him as Larry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about Larry Hamm, everyone. He is a Princeton graduate. That's an Ivy League school. He was appointed to Newark School Board at the age of 17. Head of People for Progress organization. This is his second time running for Senate. He has a new book out called A Life in the Struggle. He's a longtime civil rights activist, and he's at the forefront of every civil rights issue in the state of New Jersey. Everyone, please welcome Larry Hamm. Larry, tell us a little bit about yourself that I haven't already said.
You said a lot already, but thank you very much, Mayor, for that intro.
Uh-oh, I think we lost him. Let's see. Think we lost you, Larry. Send you an invite back. There he is. Okay. How we doing?
All right. I hope we'll maintain our connection. Um, I'm a lifelong Jerseyan. I grew up in Newark, New Jersey. I'm a product of Newark Public Schools. I was baptized in the struggle for social justice in 1967. Newark uprisings. I was very young at the time, 13, but that time, I had my first serious discussions with my family of the issues involved in the rebellion of 1967, issues of racism and poor housing and lack of jobs and so on and so forth. And I went to art school in Newark. I was a leader of student government there, and my first act of civil disobedience at the age of 10 in my senior year, that walk out, march, and a sit-in, all in the same day. And that led to my appointment to the Newark Board of Education on July 1st, 1971, becoming the youngest school board member in the history of the United States. I was not a student rep. I was one of the 9 members of the Newark Board of Education. I did 3 years on the school board and returned to Princeton in 1974, where I graduated cum laude. But while I was at Princeton, I was a leader of the anti-apartheid movement on Princeton's campus, and we were successful in getting Princeton to divest from several corporations that was doing business with the racist white minority South African regime. That was in 1978. I returned to Newark in 1980. I organized 400 families into a fuel oil cooperative where they bought their home heating oil collectively and were able to get lower than market prices for it. And after that, I organized the People's Organization for Progress, which is a grassroots organization fighting for racial, social, economic justice and peace. We will observe our 42nd anniversary this year. In 1972, I was the youngest elected delegate to the National Black Political Convention of the that was held in Gary, Indiana in 1972. In the 1980s, I supported Jesse Jackson's campaigns for president in 1984 and in 1988. In 88, I was the state co-chairman of Jesse Jackson's campaign, and I was a Jackson delegate to the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. During the 1990s, I was the state chairman of the New Jersey Million Man March Coalition, helped to mobilize 75,000 Black men to Washington, D.C. for that great event. And then more recently, in 2016, I supported Bernie Sanders' campaign for president. I was a delegate for Bernie Sanders to the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia. And in 2020, I was state chairman of the Sanders campaign in New Jersey. And as you stated, Mayor, I also ran for United States Senate that year. And here I am now in 2024 with you for my second run for United States Senate.
That is an amazing, amazing background. You've had an incredible career as an activist. What led you to become an activist in the first place?
Well, I guess, I mean, to be truthful, the bedrock foundation of my political consciousness is a sense of fairness that my parents gave me. I mean, very simple things like treat others as you would want to be treated, to be fair, to share your blessings with other people, to help those who are less fortunate. That's the bedrock of my political foundation. And then later on, we had the rebellion in Newark, and I had my first home. My father passed away when I was 4 years old. So my grandfather was like my, as they say, in loco parentis. He was my father, indeed, my de facto father. And the night of the uprising, the first night, he told me about the racism that he experienced. My father was a veteran of World War II, and my grandfather was a veteran of World War I. And then in the 1960s, I mean, I was a child of the Black Power movement. You know, I mean, how could I not be? You know, the civil rights movement was in full swing. I mean, I was born into Jim Crow America. I'm 70 years old now. I was born in 1953, before the Brown decision, before desegregation. And so I experienced a lot of that. And I was in that movement of cultural identity. You know, we moved from being Negro and colored to being Black and African Americans. And I was heavily influenced by Amiri Baraka, the father of the mayor, the current mayor of Newark, Ras Baraka. Amiri Baraka, the poet, playwright, revolutionary activist who joined the ancestors in 2014. So that's kind of the cauldron, you know. And I was also, even though I was not able to meet both of them, I was very much influenced by Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. In fact, I have right here Dr. King's fifth book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community? I always tell people to read that. And I also have with me uh, Malcolm X. This copy is the copy I bought from Amiri Baraka's bookstore in 1971. I mean, this in a few more years, this is going to turn to dust. But anyway, yes,
Larry,
those are some of the influences on my life.
for our viewers at home, can you explain to them what the role of a U.S. senator is?
Right. Well, the United States has a bicameral house, as they say. Bicameral means two houses, right? In the Congress, you have a House of Representatives, which most people popularly call congressmen. And you also have the United States Senate. The Congress people state based on the size of the population. So right now, New Jersey has 12 members in the House of Representatives. We actually lost a couple of House members over the decade. But now we have 12. Every state has 2 U.S. senators. There are 465 members of the House, and there are 435 members of the House, and there are 100 members of the United States Senate. 2 senators for each state. Senate seat currently occupied by Senator Menendez, who is not standing for re-election because he's in some trouble. He's on trial right now for corruption and also being charged as an agent of a foreign government. I'm running for his seat. And what do U.S. senators do? First of all, you must be at least 30 years of age. You must be a United States citizen, and you must reside in the state that you represent. Those are the only 3 requirements outlined in the Constitution of the United States for a senator.
That's good for our viewers to know that, because a lot of times people look and they say, well, you know, I'm not qualified to run for, you know, a political office, or I'm not qualified to, you know, running for U.S. senator is huge. You know, people might think there's all types of qualifications. You have to have a degree, or you have to have experience in this or that. And you just laid out what the 3 qualifications, the 3 basic qualifications are.
Three basic.
To viewers out there, you know, if you want to make a change, be the change that you want to see. Take a chance.
Right. That's right. And there's one more thing I need to say. There's one more thing I need to say about a U.S. senator. They serve the longest terms of federal elected officials. A senator serves a 6-year term. A House member only serves a 2-year term. That's a big difference.
Huge.
And the senators are elected in a staggered succession. This year, Robert Menendez is up. This would be his 6th year. And in 2026, Cory Booker will be up for re-election. He was just re-elected in 2020. He'll be up for re-election in 2026.
Okay. Larry, what made you decide to run for the Senate seat?
Well, the fundamental motivation for my running for any office is to be able to advance the progressive agenda. That is the agenda of the interests of working people, poor people, the middle class, Black people, and other people of color in the United States. We need to have more people who are not just running because they're nice people or well educated or have the qualifications, but who are actually going to go to Washington to carry out the will of the people. For instance, right now, all polling shows that most Americans, whether they're Democrats or Republican, they want an end to the genocidal war in Gaza. All the polls show it, but our government is going in a different direction. Our leaders are saying they want a ceasefire, but they continue to send billions of dollars of military aid to Israel to carry out this genocidal war against the Palestinian people. Now, if we elect people and we tell them when we elect them, we want peace, we don't want war, and we look at their voting record and we see they're continually voting for military aid for places where there are conflicts and war, then that's a problem. That's a contradiction. You know, another example would be education. Everybody wants our children to have quality education, quality public schools. Let me ask you, do you take a guess at how much of the federal budget is actually spent on public education? Just take a guess, a percentage.
I would say 80%.
Any guess?
80%. I'm sorry, 8%.
1%.
8%.
1%. 1%.
1%.
1% of the federal budget goes toward public schools. Nearly 87% of the federal budget goes toward military and police. The people's needs, and my slogan on the ballot is people's needs first. The people's needs obviously are not the number one priority in the federal budget, and I'm going to change that. I think
Larry,
the numbers should be reversed. I think we should be.
Let me lead to my next
Yes.
question for you, because you bring up a good point. One of
Okay.
the concerns that we have is Medicare, health care for all. How, that
Yes.
along with, gun control, as you mentioned, education,
Yes.
protecting women's
Yes.
reproductive rights, all of these things have
Yes.
been issues for a long time. And
Yes.
how do you believe that you can come in and make a difference? Because every person that runs for office, for Senate, those are things that are, heavy on their mind. But, once you get there, it's like there's other stuff going on or what have you. How do you plan to make those changes? Give us
Well,
healthcare.
one of the problems is yes, I support universal health care in the United States. The United States is the only advanced industrial nation in the world that does not have universal health care. They have it in Britain, France,
Canada.
they have it in Germany, they have it in Japan, they have it in Canada. In those countries which are less wealthy than the United States can have it, then we can have it in the United States. And I will sponsor legislation in the Senate to take the current Medicare system and phase in its expansion until it covers the entire population. Right now, you're not eligible for Medicare until you're 65. I would introduce a bill that would, in the first year, say, okay, we're going to lower eligibility to 55. And then the following year, 45, 35, and so forth until we cover the entire population. But here's another thing that I will do. I'm going to introduce introduce legislation for a national healthcare infrastructure protection and development act to create a federal fund to aid hospitals and healthcare facilities that are in distress. In this, the richest nation in the world, we should not close one more hospital in the United States. In New Jersey, in the last 25 years, we have closed more than 40 hospitals. We just came out of a national pandemic, a health crisis that killed more than 1 million Americans. And we saw how underdeveloped and overstressed and dislocated our national health care system. We can't even speak of a national health care system, public or private, in the United States.
And Larry, let me interrupt you. Salem County, that is something that we're definitely lacking, is healthcare, good healthcare for Salem County residents. Yes. We have a question from, I want to give some people from our audience a chance to ask you a question. So we have a question here from Cameron Hudson. He wanted to know, what's your platform? How much do you know about Salem County, and how does your platform benefit residents of Salem County?
Well, I certainly need and want to learn more about Salem County, but I do know that Salem is one of our more distressed counties in New Jersey, that there's a high rate of poverty in Salem County. You know, we always talk about urban poverty, but we have rural poverty in New Jersey. And Absolutely. One of the places that we have that is Salem County. This is why we need to elect people that are going to talk about poverty. I mean, what happened to poverty? Martin Luther King used to talk about eliminating poverty in the United States. But somewhere along the line, maybe in the 1980s, you know, people stopped talking about poverty. And now if someone wants to get elected, they only talk about the middle class. So here's some things that I would do. First and foremost, the federal minimum wage has not been raised in 13 years. The federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. That is a poverty wage. You cannot rent a one-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States on a wage of $7.25. I would introduce legislation to immediately increase the federal minimum wage from $7.25 an hour to $17 an hour. But look, there are people who make $17 and $18 an hour now. That ain't paradise. What we need in the United States, we need an official living wage. Even if it is aspirational, the federal government should issue on an annual basis what a living wage is. Right now, economists say in the state of New Jersey, a living wage would be $35 an hour. That's what people need to make at the beginning, at least, to be out of poverty, to get out of poverty. So those are two of the things I would do regarding poverty in the United States. And we must make it an issue again. You know, this country is rich enough to eliminate poverty.
We've got 2 minutes left for you. Where can people...
Only 2 minutes?
Yeah. Time went by real fast, right? Where can viewers go to learn more about you and your platform?
Well, the easiest thing would be to Google www.lawrencehamm4senate.info and use the number 4, not the word 4. Lawrence Hamm, number 4, Senate.info. They can see more of my platform. They can read more about me. They can sign up to volunteer. We only got 2 days left. Election day is Tuesday. Everybody
Yes.
come out to vote. And they can also make a
I have
donation
a
to the
question for
campaign.
you, Larry. I have a question for you,
I'm
Larry.
listening.
What separates
Yes.
you from your opponent? Why should Salem County voters vote for
Well,
you?
because more than the other two competitors in the race, I have been fighting for working people in 53 years. There's a straight line between my entry into the struggle for social justice and where I am today. And I won't sell you out. I won't tell you one thing today, and when I get to Washington, start talking about something else. If I tell you I'm going to fight for you, I'm going to fight for you. And you can bet on that. Larry Hamm for U.S. Senate.
Thank you, Larry. Everyone, Larry Hamm did an amazing job. We look forward to hearing more from you. Good luck in this election.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor. And good luck to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. That was great information from U.S. Senate candidate Larry Hamm. Next up, we've got Tim Alexander. Let me see if I can find Tim. All right. Tim, I just sent you an invite to join the studio. While we're waiting for Tim to join, I want to stress to everyone the importance of exercising your vote. Voting is very important. Voting is important, especially local elections. That's what affects the way you live and how things look around you, resources that are available to you. You have to vote locally. So I want to remind everyone to vote. Let's see. Do we have Tim? Here we go. Okay. Tim, no worries. Go ahead and accept the invite, and I will. While we're waiting, I'll take some questions from folks. Oh, here he is now. Okay. Welcome,
Hello,
Tim.
hello. Can
How
you
you
hear me okay?
doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Good, good. Thank you for joining us. Everyone, this is U.S. Congress candidate Tim Alexander. Tim Alexander, let me tell you a little bit about him. He is a former detective and captain of the Atlantic County Prosecutor's Office, head of the Criminal Investigation Section, as an attorney, major crimes prosecutor in Philadelphia, graduate of Drexel University, has a bachelor in business management, and now he is a civil rights attorney as well as a U.S. Congress candidate. Everyone, welcome Tim Alexander. Tim, tell us a little bit about you, what I haven't already
Sure.
mentioned.
So, yeah, and I'll try to fill in some of the gaps. I am as you indicated, 27-year experienced law enforcement officer. As you correctly identified, I retired as captain of criminal investigations. I am my education is a bachelor's in business management. I also have an MBA from Drexel University and a law degree from Rutgers University. Father of three, married for 37 years. I'm glad I got that right because my wife Anna is on this call. And resident of the congressional district since 1979. So I've been here for majority of my life. Went to high school in Vineland, New Jersey, graduated from there, went to the police academy, got married, and we eventually made our way over to Atlantic County, where although our first two children were born in Vineland, and then we moved to Atlantic County, and we had our third, and that's where we set up roots. And I'm running for Congress, so there's some gaps there that I am a civil rights attorney. It's a long road to that that got me there, from being a police officer to civil rights attorney, and it started in 1985 when I was a victim of police violence, and for whatever reason, 3 officers shot at me. Then they assaulted me, and they charged me with a crime I didn't commit, only later to say it was a case of mistaken identity. And to this day, I still don't know what a person could have done that warrant, before you say anything else to them, that you shoot at them. But we'll leave that right there. And my grandfather was the one who told me, look, you can be really upset about this, and you have every right to be. You can protest, you can do all those things, or you do nothing at all. But from his position, he believed the best way to address the issue was to get inside and make change. And so I was already on a pathway to becoming a police officer before that incident happened, and he convinced me to continue on with that. And as history says, I have 27 years in the business, and in that time, I had the benefit of reliving those words when I was assigned to write policy for the prosecutor's office for about 2 years. And during that time, I rewrote every single policy in the office, and the way we dealt with our communities, the way we went about police procedures. I got the agency accredited, and it dawned on me that I was doing what my grandfather told me to do: make change from within. So move forward now. I'm an attorney, I'm practicing, and I was, like many people, becoming very just disgruntled with the way things were running in our district, and the needs that we have. And so I got involved. I got inside. I started as an attorney volunteer for a local party, and eventually I decided to run, and some great people to help me out in the beginning, make sure that I knew what I was doing as best they could. And that's how it all started. We ran in 2022 against Jeff Andrew. I was a Democratic nominee. Right? This is my second run. Although I was a first-time candidate, and we didn't raise significantly the amount of money as my opponent, we still came away with 95,400 votes. So we knew, very proud of. Right, and we knew where the shortcoming was. It was a name recognition. It was name branding. So our goal was to, if we're going to run again, that we have to become a household name. So I started going. My wife actually set up a listening series where we went around the district, talking to people, listening to what their issues were, finding commonalities, coming back home, doing the research to find ways that we could pay for these programs without impacting taxes or the deficit, and coming up with a platform. And it really centered around affordability. How can we make life better? And from what I see, members in Congress, their mission should be bringing home resources to the district to help towns such as yours and other communities throughout the district in doing better, in building infrastructure, in creating jobs, helping with housing affordability. And then we could get on a national platform, helping with Social Security and Medicare, addressing our immigration crisis without losing sight of reality. And so all these things came together in what I call an issues book. And that's what we've been running on. And that's my platform from a mile high view.
So Tim, if you walked up to a voter and they asked you, well, what is the role of a U.S. congressman? What would you say? What would you tell him or her?
I would say it's the same role as law enforcement. It's service. My job is to be a servant to you. My job is to find those things that we need desperately and bring them home to you. My core function is a servant to the people who sent me to Washington, but really it's bigger than that. it's every single person, whether you voted for me or not, whether you're a Democrat or not. I'm a Democrat, but you don't have to be a Democrat for me to be working for you. My job is to go out and find the resources that you need, bring them home to make life better for you here, make life safer for you here, make life more equitable for you here. That's my goal. That's my passion. It's my purpose. It's the only role that I see I serve in Congress. And quite honestly, it's the same as any office, whether it's mayor or a law enforcement officer or a firefighter. If you're working for the taxpayers, you are a servant to them. And you must remember that every single day. And that should be the driving force for everyone in elected office and actually on the government payroll.
One of the questions that I received earlier from one of our viewers was, how is voting for Tim Alexander going to make our communities better? Could you answer that question?
Sure. So if you look at my platform, it's on affordability, right? And we could attack many of the things that candidate Hamm touched on. I share many of the same values, but I'm going to break it down a little bit more. And we could go anywhere your viewers want to go with this. But if we want to talk about Medicare, because I think I came in during that conversation, I agree with candidate Hamm that Medicare, he talked about Medicaid for all. I think that certain phrases have been hijacked by the opposition to make them, give a negative connotation. One thing I can say about my opponents is that they are masters at communication. They could make a terrible thing sound wonderful and convince a lot of people that they should have it. The reality is that we do need access to affordable health care in this country. My wife and I, our children are all in their 30s. They have their own lives. It's just us. Our health insurance is $1,300 a month. That to me is just, and by the way, that's the discount price, right? Because I'm able to, as a retiree, I'm able to buy into the state plan, the state group, and get that little bit of discount. But it's significantly high. In fact, we just tried to make a change, and we were going to go to a different insurance company, and the provider, after a long runaround, said, well, it's going to cost you the same amount per month. So why make the change? That being said, how can we make that more affordable? Well, Medicare is a great option. What if you just allow me to buy into it? And here's the plan. You allow everybody to buy into it. I know that Mr. Hamm talked about phasing it in, but there's really no reason. Insurance is a pool. And the way it is successful is you have more money coming in than you have going out. And the way you do that is you have younger, healthier people buying into the program at a much lower rate than that in the private sector. But now you have more money coming in because they don't need as much healthcare services. Or I'll use myself as an example. I don't need as much as my 86-year-old mother. My 31-year-old daughter doesn't need as much as I do. So the bottom line is we'll have more money coming in. We'll have less money going out. Now, how does that differentiate from the private sector? Well, if you go up to Blue Cross and Blue Shield at the end of the day, when the executives are getting out of work, you'll see all the limos and the SUVs lined up. And you look at them when they get their corporate bonuses, it's that money that we'd be saving because the federal government doesn't pay that. They don't make that kind of money working for the federal government. And so now we have all this money coming in. Quite honestly, the way my back in the envelope estimation is that within 10 years, anybody 65 and older can receive health care for free. Mm-hmm. And then as we make that stronger, we can lower that age for free access to healthcare to a point where it's solvent and it has an endowment that's going to sustain us. But that's going to take years to do, and we need to start it now. But in the meantime, people like myself, and I always use myself as the first guinea pig, will save significant amount of money in healthcare. And I know that my children will save money and everyone else will save money because we're not paying for those bonuses. We're not paying for those luxury vehicles. We're only paying for the service that we're providing, and we have more money coming in. It's only going to get stronger. And quite honestly, we have to make it so that the government can't take money from it. It can only go to healthcare. That's how we end up having healthcare for all.
One of the issues that we face in Salem County is infrastructure. How will you, if elected, how will you bring more funding to Salem County for infrastructure?
So understand where I'm coming from. This district, Congressional District 2, has three of the poorest counties in the state of New Jersey: Salem County, Cumberland County, and Atlantic County. When we talk about Salem County, my law office is in Salem City. So I go there, and I've driven through the town at 6 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning, and people are just milling around, and it's just a bad scene. People need opportunity, they need jobs, and it's a passion for me. When I started running for this office, my wife is from Salem County, and she remembers as a young girl going to Salem City and doing all their dress shopping and their hat shopping and getting her father getting his suits from there. It was like going to Philly is today. That Salem was the place to go. And if you look at Salem City today, it's nothing like that. So my passion is to restore good paying jobs to that area, to attract businesses to come in. We have the wind farm that it's being proposed to go up that is actually going to employ 1,400 people in the construction phase, and then an additional 1,000 people once it's up and running. But that's at the farm. What about all the other aspects, the restaurants and the other businesses that are going to see an economic boom? That's why this is so important, and it's shocking that my opponent, Jeff Andrew, has signs up saying "Save our shores and kill wind energy." Meanwhile, he's taking money from Exxon and Shell Pack. So for me,
I was going to ask you, Tim, what makes you different? Share with our viewers what makes you different than your opponent.
Well, the primary thing is I grew up in this. First of all, I grew up very poor, and that we literally had a house on the railroad tracks in Vineland on 799 Southeast Boulevard. You could look it up right now. You see we're right across the street from the railroad tracks, and that train would run all night long. But the reality is that there's very few shared experiences that let me rephrase that. I have so many more shared experiences with the people I want to represent than my opponent, who seems to have lost his way, who seems to not be interested in representing the district. He's more interested in what's going on in Texas and Arizona than he is right here in his own backyard. Even when he proposed an infrastructure bill most recently, it was about strengthening bridges that are outside of our district, not doing development right here at home. And back to your point about development, briefly, I had an opportunity to sit down with some developers, and it was a spare of the moment kind of conversation. I overheard them talking, and I butted in, and I said, "Why don't you guys come over to Salem County and start building some things, creating opportunities for us there?" And the one gentleman turned to me and said, "We would love to, but you don't have the infrastructure." And so I said, "Okay, well, we could certainly talk about building out our roads and strengthening our bridges, or whatever it takes." He says, "No, you don't even have the electrical grid for us." And I was shocked. I got to tell you, Mayor, I was shocked, because I know that we have the nuclear plant there. And I said, "Well, what about all that electricity that's coming out of the nuclear plant?" And they said, "Well, that's being sold on the market, open market, and it's not staying at home." So to answer your question, what would I do? I'm going to address that issue. Why is that electricity leaving our area when we need it for development right here at home? And then once we get that locked down, then we're going to start bringing in attracting some businesses, find an industry that's going to help the community without polluting the community and without destroying the community. We don't all have to have a ton of warehouses in order to have new growth. There's other things that we could bring into our communities. And so I am going to fight diligently to build the infrastructure. By the way, we have $1.2 trillion year over year in the Build Back Better money for 10 years. We're in year 4 of it, meaning we only have 6 years left to get some of that money and bring it home to help us build these infrastructural needs that we have. There's a port in Salem County that we can get that dredge. There's money for port development, $23 billion a year, if anybody wants specifics. And the reality is that it will cost us $100 million to dredge that port, last estimate. Well, the money is there. We get the port dredge, and now we attract more opportunity coming into the port area, more jobs. So for me, it's about making sure that we bring home the resources that we have available to us today, back home to our district, to serve the people in South Jersey. For decades, we've not had a Congress representative who's interested in serving this district. They're more interested in the national issues, and that currently, whatever the former president says, as opposed to what the needs are of here. You point to one listening series held by Jeff Van Drew where he actually got into the community. I've shown up at events all over our district so I could hear from people. And by the way, not all of them are all friendly, but that's okay because I get some information from that too. And I take it and I figure out what we can use and how can we make lives better. My opponent doesn't do any of that.
I want to take, thank you, Tim. I want to take a couple questions. We only have a couple minutes left. We have, let's see, we have lots of questions. Okay. You just touched on something. Here's a good question. How will you ensure that Salem County receives its fair share of federal funding for housing and urban development? And what steps will you take to monitor and ensure the effective use of these funds?
So anything, let me answer the question in reverse. Anything I put my name on, I'm following all the way through. Nobody gets a check and then they don't get Tim Alexander on their back figuring out what they're doing with the funds. And when it comes to affordable housing, as I stated earlier, I grew up in affordable housing, HUD house, if you want to call it that. And it was an excellent program for my mother and my sister and I. That my mom qualified because of she was working 2 jobs and she didn't make enough money to afford a regular house. So she qualified for a HUD house. The program was for 5 years. You had 5 years in this home. It's a brand new home. They built it for us. And in that home, you had to learn how to take care of it. You had to learn drywall repair. You had to learn basic gardening. It was a lot of lessons. And because my mom was busy working 2 jobs, I was at 14 down in the basement of HUD learning how to do those things, which I have skills today as a result of that. But that aside, at the end of the 5 years, they set aside a portion of your rent every month. And at the end of the 5 years, you had to qualify for a mortgage and they had the down payment for you. And so my mom was able to do that and she was able to qualify for a mortgage. She got the house and it was a wonderful opportunity for us to have home ownership. It was our house. And my mom, when she retired, she sold that house and later moved to Georgia for inexplicable reasons. But that aside, and I always tease Georgia, but that aside, that type of program I want to bring to our district, to Salem County, to Cumberland County, to Cape May, Atlantic County. We need that everywhere. But I want to change it up a little bit. Instead of you only making X number of dollars, I want to make it more realistic to people. So we could bring more people into the program. Imagine if you're making, people think that you're making $140,000, $150,000 a year, and you have a couple of kids, that you're living on the hog, and it's not true. You're barely making it in reality. So I want to make sure that we expand these programs to catch as many people as we possibly can, raise that income level to a more sustainable level. And now we could bring more young folks, or folks who, like my mom, who was much older, but she wanted to have home ownership, bring them into this fold of housing ownership, give them the skills to take care of the house, help them in 5 years to build their credit, have that down payment, and now, bam, they qualify for the mortgage and they're homeowners. And we're going to put a little stipulation on there that you got to keep the house for another 5 years so that we can avoid people coming in, investors coming in and buying these houses up. And now we have nothing but landlords in the community where we wanted to have homeowners. So that program that I'm hoping to initiate and develop, I'm going to have my name on it, in the sense that I'm going to keep an eye on where that money's going and what houses are being built. We've already identified a partner who's going to help us with decades of experience in building affordable housing in Philadelphia and South Jersey. So we're excited about working and collaborating with him to make this happen. My job is to get the resources. Their job is to make it happen.
One more question from one of our viewers, Cynthia Harris. She said, and you're touching on the jobs. She said, what would you do about the fact that AI is taking jobs from people, leaving them unemployed and unable to provide for their families? What would you say to that?
There is a phase that we have to, first of all, it shouldn't happen. When automation came about, particularly in industries like auto manufacturing, it was the same issue. We're going to lose auto workers. We're going to have these machines, robots building the cars, and we had to adjust. And we got more people into the service end of keeping those machines running and programming to keep them going. There's always going to be a need for human intervention with AI. AI, this is not like the Terminator where AI is going to acquire intelligence and then it's going to be all completely on its own. The reality is that we're always going to have human intervention. I say this, if companies want to shift to AI, then we need to shift along with it, and let's get people trained in understanding AI, being able to program, debug, and make AI even better. And we do that by developing training programs to make sure that everybody have an opportunity to learn this. And part of Mr. Hamm brought up a point, a really good point, about the amount of money that we spend, federal dollars we spend on public school education. I can't verify the percentage, but I could tell you it's around 20-some billion dollars a year, which if you look at our military budget, it's nearly $750 billion a year. So that's a drop in the ocean. I have a plan that's going to help augment our public school education. There's money on the table, and it involves cannabis. Cannabis is legal in New Jersey as it is in 21 states in our nation, cannabis for recreational purposes. I want to decriminalize it on a federal level, and that's a whole another conversation. But
Yes.
talk about.
I'd actually like to invite you back on to talk about that.
Sure, but in the context of this conversation, one of the benefits of decriminalizing it is much like we tax wine and alcohol sales in our country, we could tax cannabis sales on a federal level. But here's the caveat. I want to have a bill passed into law that will require every single penny raised from that cannabis sales to go to public school pre-K through 12 education. It goes back, we're going to come up with a spending formula based on congressional maps that if your district, a CD2, the highest paying school district, meaning how much the highest spending per student per capita is, say, $20,000 or $23,000. And if your district, educational district, is only spending $19,000 or $18,000, then you're eligible for funding to come up to that level of the highest. And then once all the school districts across the district is at that level, then everybody can rise together and all boats go up at the same tide. That's the way we bring more money into our education system. That's going to help us with our property taxes. It's going to help us stabilize that. And by the way, if one of the things that's happened with school choice in New Jersey is we've become, I believe, the fourth or fifth most segregated school system in the nation. And so I want to make sure that if the argument is that there's better quality education because they're spending more per student over at school X, that we take that argument away. And that if you send your kid right there in their own home, their own district, they get the great quality education, the same as if you had to send them across the county or whatever the case may be, that you could do it right there at home. And if you still decide to send your kid somewhere else, then that's a different argument, but we could call you out for it a little bit easier at that point.
Tim, one last question before you go. What do you want our viewers to know about you? What's the message that you want everyone to take away with them today? So
that's, here's the thing. I'm running to represent them on the platform of affordability. I have some core issues. I'm a civil rights attorney, so of course I want equal rights for everybody. Women should have the same rights as men when it comes to managing their bodies and their health care. I have my other core issue deals with assault weapons, specifically AR-15s and AK-47s. They're illegal in New Jersey, but you could go anywhere else and bring them home to New Jersey. And those type weapons go through, you heard my background in law enforcement. My mother retired as a correction officer. Later in life, she became a correction officer, she retired. And my daughter was a police officer. We have 3 generations in our family. We believe in Second Amendment, but those weapons don't belong on our streets. And I'm going to do everything I can to get them off our streets. I'll protect Second Amendment rights to own a gun, but not that. So those ancillary issues, and of course, fighting for our veterans is another important issue for me. And addressing veteran homelessness, we could talk about that when we have more time. But getting to the core of my platform is affordability, folks. That Tim Alexander is fighting for you to make your lives more affordable. Every single program I propose, you can go to my website, timalexanderforcongress.com. You'll see that I have a mechanism to pay for it, that it won't affect taxes, it won't affect the deficit. The money already exists. We need to reallocate in some instances and put that money back here where we desperately need it. As I indicated at the beginning of this chat, we have the 3 poorest counties in the state of New Jersey. We desperately need resources, and when they come to our state, they tend to go north of here. So I'm going to work with the mayors. I want you to know this, that every quarter the mayor is going to be able to jump on a call. They're going to know what resources are available to them now. That you could get money for repaving your roads. That you could get money for expanding your broadband. If the money's not there, I'm fighting for the money to come there. But in some instances, the money's already there. We need to be a team. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's about being a team to serve the people. We're going to set the partisan stuff aside for CNN or Fox News, and we're going to get to work right here. And if people want any takeaway, the biggest takeaway is this: I'm fighting for you. I am a servant to you, and I will always be a servant to you.
Thank you, Tim. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow at the Elks Lodge in Penns Grove, New Jersey, 57 West Main Street, you can meet Tim Alexander in person. You can also meet Nelson Carney Jr., who's we'll be talking to shortly, who's running for Salem County Commissioner. Also, you can meet Germere Ledford, who's also running for Salem County Commissioner. And you can meet Charlyn Martin, who's running for Salem County Clerk. Come out tomorrow. It's from 4 to 8 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. And it's a free
All
event.
great candidates, too.
Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
Tim. We appreciate you.
All right. You take care, and thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. Next up, we have Nelson Carney Jr. See if I can find you, Mr. Carney. There you go. All right. I have just sent you an invite into the studio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are not registered to vote, or if your family members are not registered to vote, or your friends are not registered to vote, make sure, it's too late to register to vote in the primary, but make sure for the general election, you get registered to vote, okay? Make sure you do that. It's important. All right, Mr. Carney Jr., how are you?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, everyone, welcome
Good.
Nelson Carney Jr.
Hello, everyone. This modern technology I'm not used to. I told Daena earlier. It's a privilege to Daena invite us on this evening, on a Sunday evening. I'm Nelson Carney Jr. I'm running for Salem County Commissioner. This is my 4th time running, so hopefully this be a charm. Once again, I decided to run 4 years ago. Let me move back a little bit. I'm the president of Salem County NAACP. First
I was going to bring that up.
Okay. I've been married 29 years, a family of 6 children. I got 9 grandchildren. I was previously employed at Mannington Mills for 22 years. And I worked at the Salem County Roads Department for 5 years, where I learned one of the reasons why I wanted to run for county commissioner, all that I learned there. And I'm previously working for Salem City School District. So with that, my background, I'm on many boards in the county, standing for Salem, Chamber of Commerce, a couple other boards. But I'm also on the state board for NAACP. And one of the reasons I said I decided to run was because people of color in Salem County always get the short end of the stick. I mean, there's last summer I looked online and I said Salem County and Cumberland counties were going to receive $1 million for the youth. And the prosecutor in Cumberland County got it. And I found out that Salem City wasn't getting it, or Salem County. So I had called the prosecutor in Salem County, and she said, no, we didn't get it. And come to find out, the reason why we didn't get it is because no one applied for the grant. And this is $1 million, folks, we lost because nobody applied for this grant. So I called Cory Booker's office, and they said that was the reason. And I took it back to a couple, cancels and meetings and stuff. And the Salem County Commissioner's excuse is, we can't afford to pay a grant writer. That's a crock to me, because you're losing millions of dollars in many grants. And that upset me very much so. And our county roads, I've been advocating on them many times, many times. I know every road in this county from working with Public Works. Salem County has almost 400 miles of road. If you go down to Pittsgrove areas and places like that, their roads are good. If you go to Salem, Pittsgrove, parts of Carney's Point, roads are terrible. And it's sad because Salem County has $9 million that they're getting ready to lose for the roads that they have not used. And there's a list of roads from 2019 that were supposed to have been paved, like Acton Station Road. These roads look like somebody took a grenade and just blew the roads up. And it's
so Nelson, who needs to be applying for these grants? Because I like for the viewers to understand, when you look outside, when you're driving down the road and you're hitting those bumps, you look around you and you're going like, what in the world is going on, and why aren't these things getting fixed? But it always comes down to one thing, which is money.
Yes.
And there's a lot of money that's out there.
Yes.
But it's not getting to Salem County like it should.
Absolutely.
Who should be applying for these grants?
The county commissioners or on the county roads. I mean, because everyone doesn't know what the county roads are. Like there's certain roads go through Pittsgrove or county roads. You got the state roads and you got county roads. But the commissioners they have money to do it. And that's what upsets you, they won't use it. And it's all under the infrastructure laws and stuff, infrastructure money. And I don't know why they don't use it. Like I said, they got $9 million to get ready to lose. Now I just got a survey from them. They're having a meeting sometime this month. They want to try to justify why these roads ain't done, the safety of them. I know you've had 5 years to do this. They should have been done.
And a lot of times, what I learned, just me being in office, is you got to go look for it, because a lot of times you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So how I learned about a lot of things is I actually go to, the League of Municipalities. I go to workshops. I go, I attend webinars, and I find out about these things.
Right.
But if you don't know, you don't know. You just think, oh, there's no money for Salem County.
Right. But there is money. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but like you said, you got to go out there, if I'm elected as a candidate, because apparently these commissioners don't care. I mean, they sit there, they vote on everything, they pass everything, but nothing comes to the communities of color. And that's very sad.
So Nelson, explain to our viewers exactly what the role of a commissioner is.
They control the county budget, which is the public roads, the county roads, the jail, and they give so much to education, which I don't know the percentage of education, but I do know 40% goes to the jail of the budget. And roads is a very large part of I would say probably 50% of it goes to the roads, because it's a lot of money for the roads, and where that money goes, because the equipment there is in bad shape. Pittsgrove, Salem City, Carney's Point, everyone has newer equipment than the county has. You guys should be able to go to the county and say, we need equipment to do something to our roads. It doesn't happen that way. Instead, the county's got to come to you guys now, because you guys got all the new equipment, which is a good thing that you guys have it, but the county should have it also.
How is voting for you? If Salem County voters vote for you, how will that make our communities better?
Well, I will be
fundamental changes are you going to make?
Well, right now it's 5-0 Republicans. I do get along with most of them, but when there's something that needs to be said, I will speak up on it, and that's why they don't tell me too much. But I will be the people's voice in Salem County. As I've been campaigning, I hear what they're saying. And like I told them, I can't make any promises, but I will be their voice. Whatever they tell me they want me to take back to the commissioners, I will do that. And I'll hold them accountable. And if I am elected, I expect them to hold me accountable also.
Why do you think you're the man to do it? Why do you think you're the best candidate for this position? Because you ran 4 times. You're extremely determined, and I admire that.
Faith and determination. Faith and determination. Like I said, I've been president for NAACP so long. I've seen a lot of things, and I just want to be their voice and make that change. I just feel that someone has to do it. I go to these school board meetings, I go to commissioner meetings, borough council meetings. No one shows up. And this is why they continue to do what they do, because the people in Salem County, I guess they feel they don't care. We have to go to these meetings and hold them accountable. I don't care what meeting it is, school board, the smallest meeting, we have to go and hold them accountable, because at the end of the day, they're not respecting us. They really don't care. Maybe I can't say they don't care, but they don't show their appreciation to us, giving our towns, or what's coming to us, what we deserve.
What you mentioned change. You want to see a change. What does change look like to you? If you were to get elected, what would change look like to you?
Well, from what I've learned, like with the warehouses, people are totally against these warehouses. I know the county commissioners don't have much say in that. That's up to each borough and township. Everyone's looking for some tax money, because when DuPont closed, that hurt Pennsgrove, Pennsville, Carney's Point, because DuPont gave a lot of money to those towns. And Salem City was Mannington Mills and PSE&G and Anchor-Hockin. Those places are all going. And now the boroughs and townships are trying to look for ways to get money back to their towns, which is going to be tough. You got people moving out and abandoned homes, and Salem and Pennsgrove, it's tough. And I can't say I'm totally against warehouses, but we are getting too many. And when I keep hearing people say jobs, 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 as I look around, most of those people don't live in Salem County. They live in Pennsylvania, Delaware, or Swedesboro. They come here, they work, and they go back to their respective towns. So our folks aren't even working here in Salem County. And
the biggest problem is lack of transportation.
Absolutely. And that's been on my agenda also.
What will you do to help that, to make that better?
I would do everything in my power to make sure we have around-the-clock transportation, because there's only been like a couple transportation areas where there's only been one shift. When you have 3-shift warehouses, people need to go to work all shifts. So there's funds out there to have a bus or something to go around the clock. The county could even do it. There's funds for them to do it. They just won't do it for a reason I don't know. But there is definitely money to do that. And when they say about jobs with warehouses, I just like up in Fredericktown, I heard the Walmart one's closing and 250 people are losing their jobs. That warehouse is going to Pennsylvania. See, this is what hurts us. These warehouses are here temporary, and the jobs are temporary. So that means, you can't raise your family on a warehouse job. Let's face it. There's no benefits. Most of them don't have benefits, and they're part-time, and it's just not a good way to raise your family. Like, when I grew up, I raised my family working at Mannington Mills and the county, and you had DuPont, and these were good paying jobs, and they're not here anymore. So I know the problems, but how do we fix it? We all have to work together on it to fix it.
Absolutely. Can you tell our viewers what separates you from your opponent?
Well, I won't hide from you. If you can call me anytime, because when you call them, they won't get back with you. I've always been the type of person, you call me, give me a couple of days, I'll find out what the problem is, or try to get a solution to it. I will always call you back. People, I tell them that all the time. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed with email and text, but I will get back with you.
Okay. Right now, I want to take some questions from the viewers. Let's see. Okay. Here we go. Scroll. Okay, here's a comment. This comment is from someone named JR. He said the county commissioners control the property tax equalization rate. The Black municipalities have the highest tax rates. What do you plan to do about that issue?
Well, I just had the county commissioners have raised everyone's taxes within the last 5 years over $25 million. That's the entire county. And what have they done to show what they raised taxes for? If I'm elected, I want to see what has been done. First of all, I probably will call for an audit, because there's nothing been done over probably 10 years that I've seen in this county. And I want to see where money went and how money was spent, at what grants you had and what you didn't get. Like I said, the $9 million for the infrastructure for the roads, they're getting ready to lose it. Why are you holding on to this when this should be done? And like I said, people of color neighborhoods, Pennsgrove and Salem, are the two towns that hurt. There's money that the commissioners are supposed to give for the youth. I heard. I just found out this a month ago. They don't give it to you guys for the youth. Why? These are questions that I have also, and I'm going to find out.
All right, we have another question for you from Joyce Johnson. What is your track record of service to the citizens of Salem County?
All my life, I've been in Salem City. I was born and raised here in Salem County, but my parents still live in Salem City. I'm always advocating for Salem City. I'm working for the Salem City schools, and I've always advocated for Salem City, and I will continue to Salem County. I love Salem County. I wish we can go back to where it was many years ago, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I'm an old farm boy. I also, did farm work here in Salem County, and we're losing our farmland, and that's sad also. My family's still here in Salem County. I just love Salem County, and I've never left and don't plan on leaving no time soon.
Okay. One last question from Cameron Hudson. How do you plan to address the unique challenges faced by state-monitored towns in Salem County when it comes to economic development and attracting ratables?
Well, like I said, we had to get a good working connection with the like Salem Cities, who's being state monitored. I think that's what the questioner pretty much asking. Where our commissioners don't have a working relationship with everyone, the mayors in the county. I want to have that working relationship, as Tim said, at least once a month. Come say, you guys come to commissioners, say what you need, because commissioners are supposed to get what the towns and boroughs can't get. They're supposed to go to the state and say, look, this town needs this town needs that, and I would do that. And with John and Heather and them in office, and Dave, I'm sure we have a good working relationship. I'm sure we can get what each town needs.
Thank you, Mr. Carney Jr. One last question.
Okay.
What do you want the viewers to know about you? What is your message that you want everybody to take home with them, take away with them?
Faith and determination is what I have. That's pretty much, that's it. Like I said, I'm just trying to do this campaign without a lot of hate calling. But I just want people to realize I'm the person for that office. It's a 5-0. Like I said, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, but we need some Democrats on that Republican seat with 5-0 to make some changes and hold them folks accountable. Because right now they're doing some things that I know they should be doing. I had a discussion with Ben Lowry many years ago about the supermarket in Salem City. When Adam Terraferro was assemblyman, he did help. Well, he did get some money for the lady for that supermarket, but I just spoke with her last week. She's still in phase 3 of the electrical problem that she's having there, and she still needs some money. And I spoke with Dave Bailey on that. But like I said, there's some issues that we're working through there. But it's a trying. But Pennsgrove, you're doing good. I know you don't have a supermarket yet, but you got the Wawa and you got the other stores. You're doing good there. But so you'll make my job easier when I get there. But yeah, I'm just have faith that we have to be me and Germere, we both have to be on this commissioner board to break it up some, because they are running rampant with a lot of things that folks don't know, but what's going on there that I do, and we don't have time to say all that tonight. So just hold us accountable for what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Carney Jr. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. Okay, everyone. Next up is Germere Ledford. So let me invite him to the studio. All right, Germere, I'm sending you an invite. Just sent it. Everyone, just continue to put your questions in the chat. I apologize, I can't get to everyone's questions, but I try to get to a couple of them. Germere, let's see. We may be having some technical difficulties getting in. Give them another minute. Right now, I'll post a message from Dave Bailey. I want to thank the mayor for hosting this forum and providing us with the opportunity to interact with the candidates. I applaud each for their willingness to serve and look forward to attending tomorrow evening. Assemblyman Dave Bailey. Thank you, Mr. Bailey, for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow as well. Okay. I don't see, I see Germere in the group, but let's see. Maybe having Germere, you having some issues? Okay, well, what we'll do is we will come back to Germere and we will move to our Salem County Clerk candidate, Charlyn Martin. So let me give me one moment, everyone. Okay, found Charlyn. Inviting Charlyn to the studio. And Charlyn, you should have an invite from me to enter the studio. Okay. Hello, Charlyn Martin. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. I'm fine on this Sunday evening.
Good to see you. Yes. Everyone, I want to introduce you to Charlyn Martin. I'm excited that she's here. So let me tell you a little bit of what I know about Charlyn. Charlyn is a school counselor and has been one for many years. She was also a member of my administration. She was a councilwoman, and she also served as council president from 2021 to 2023. And she is now vying for the Salem County Clerk seat. Welcome, Charlyn Martin. Tell us about yourself.
Okay. So I am a wife of about 10 years. It will be 10 years in a few weeks. A mother, a school counselor, and a community volunteer. I am a sibling. I am the fifth of 6 children. So, you know, teamwork. I can work with a team. Currently, I work at the Salem County, in the Salem County School District. It is actually the Penns Grove Carney Point School District as a school counselor. Previously to that job, I worked as a domestic violence and a sexual assault counselor. And then I continue now to work with the agency who provides those services when needed. So I do that on an as needed basis, part-time basis with them. Of course, I had 2 years in government under your leadership, and that's about it.
Okay, so here's a quick question for you. What exactly does a Salem County Clerk do for our viewers at home?
Okay, good question, because I get asked that a lot. So basically, the clerk oversees the election process. You want to make sure that it's a fair process. And as far as just not for election day or coming up towards the election, but any changes that are made in the election process. Also getting information out, getting those ballots out, getting things out in a timely, those types sorts of things in a timely manner. So apart from the election process, and let me just say this, the county clerk oversees a staff who is actually employed to work. So they oversee a staff. And so that office actually helps to do that, and also helps with the files and records all documents concerning real estate ownership and transfers. It also registers the business trade names. And there in that office, it also accepts the U.S. passport applications, processes and issues county and veteran identification cards, and swears in notary public applicants. So
Forgive me for smiling so hard. Everyone, I need you all to understand how proud I am of Charlyn. Let me tell you, when I decided to run for mayor 5 years ago, I had invited her and her husband over to my house because I actually wanted her husband, Greg, to run with me for council. And Charlyn had no idea, knew nothing too much about politics or government. And when I came to her and asked her to run for council, she was, I don't know how to think about it. And she did it, and she won. And she was so phenomenal. She was one of the best councilwomen we've ever had. So I have no doubt that she would be, great if she were to win the Salem County Clerk position. She's just a great person.
So don't forget, Mayor, I said no the first time.
Well, actually, you said no a couple times, but now I said no for an answer.
Right. So
What made you decide to run for Salem County Clerk?
Because of, I guess the biggest part of that office has to do with the election and vote. And an election is so important in our country. And even when I ran for council, I spoke with a lot of people who just weren't interested in voting. So you would talk to them about voting. They're like, I don't want to do that. I can't make the change. Everybody's crooked. You hear those types of stories. And from then and even now, you speak with people and you try to tell them that, it's important. Your vote is important. Especially when you're talking to African Americans. And it's not only African Americans who say they don't want to vote, but in talking with them, I like to remind them of what our ancestors died for. And again, they weren't all African Americans. I should make that point too, because there were people who marched for the cause. But we, I think in the generations now, they should be reminded of these things, of what our ancestors went through, why they fought so hard for this right. And now that we have this right, why aren't we exercising them? Why aren't we doing what our ancestors have fought for so many years? So that is really near and dear to my heart, the registration and the voting. And so I wanted to run because I wanted to be more visible in that aspect. To our residents in our community. So that is the biggest, that is the reason I really wanted to run.
Yeah, and you make a good point to be able to sit here, and number one, you vote, and number two, you can actually run for a seat is just amazing as African Americans, and as an African American woman, I attest to that. Me sitting here being, making history in Salem County, and if you win, you will also make history. Am I right?
Correct.
You're the first African American woman to serve as Salem County Clerk. So, I mean, kudos to you for jumping out there and taking a chance.
And also, Mayor, if I may, not only the first African American woman in Salem County, but will be the second African American in the state of New Jersey. There's only one serving now in 21 counties.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is just so awesome. That is so awesome. Yeah. So, tell our viewers, how will voting for you make our communities better?
So voting for me, I feel would make our communities better. One, my work history allows me to hone in on my attending and listening skills. And I do it automatically because it's what I've done for years, to be able to hear people, to hear what the need is. Of course, in this position, you're not setting up, you're not making laws or legislation in a broad sense, right? But in this little area, there are things that could be done differently. One is to be more visible. A vote for me means I'm invisible. I mean, I'm visible, not I'm invisible, I'm visible. But I like to use this acronym when I refer to my platform or anything. It's EAT. A vote for me allows you to eat. And EAT stands for education. You're going to be educated on the whole process. And not just around election time, but going out into the community, setting up and talking, going to the schools and talking to youth about what your vote means and how the whole election process works. A in the word eat is accessibility, to be accessible. Not that you come and you see a sign on there and there's a certain time frame that you can talk with me, but you should be able to talk to me or with me the whole time frame, the whole time the office is open. So because I am a public servant, I should be accessible to you as it relates to the county clerk's services that they offer. And then T is for transparency. Being transparent, not demonizing people because you choose to vote by mail, not demonizing you because you want to do early voting, but just giving you the facts as to this is how you can vote. This is what it is. And then each individual can determine which is best for them. And then someone being there to help people walk through those processes. So a vote for me means you eat.
I like that slogan. I'm going to take a couple questions because we have a lot of them actually.
Oh, wow.
So let's see here. Okay. Here's a good one. Let me get it up here. Mr. Hudson asks, what specific actions will you take to promote transparency in the election process and build public trust in the integrity of Salem County elections?
Okay. So to build transparency means just to put it out there. I mean, I can't change the election laws, but and also to be at the table to make sure that if I am allowed to give input, that I'm there at the table to do that. I'm hoping my run will open the door for other women in Salem County and other African Americans in Salem County. So some of the things I think I mentioned when I was talking a little earlier was I would set up different, I would be more visible. So you're setting up to be visible. You're giving people information. The Bible speaks of my people perish for a lack of knowledge. So what we being in that position will allow me to give you the education, to give you that information so that you're able to vote and those sorts of things. Now, as far as the transparency part is just giving you all the information. Now, as far as on the inside, you just have to follow. You have to follow the law and follow the rules. So as long as that's being done, then we shouldn't have any. I mean, no county clerk should have an issue if you're following the law and the rules. Should have an issue with the integrity of our whole election process.
Thank you. Okay, let's do another question. Actually, this is a comment from JR. He says, we need a clerk who won't be afraid to confront voter oppression issues. There are voters whose registration has been switched without permission. There were also charter violations, illegal ward decreases, and removal of voting machines in Black districts in Salem. What do you have to say to that?
That to me is disgraceful. But as far as that happening, and so yes, I would be that voice who will speak out. When it comes to racism and those sorts of issues, it really hits home, and it really I don't like it. So I would do anything I could do to make sure that our people. So listen, here's another thing. I want to make sure that it doesn't matter where you live or your zip code, that everyone should be treated fairly, whether people think that this is an underserved town or whatever. When it comes to your voting, it is your right, and everyone should exercise that. And we shouldn't allow anything to taint that. So these are some things I'd like to know. So JR, I would like to, please, I would like to sit down and even talk now about some of these things, because I didn't know that. And if there are any more, I would like to gather that information, because those are things we work on immediately when I'm in office.
Thank you. All right, we have time for one more question. And Mr. Hudson asks, what measures will you take to improve the use of technology in the county clerk's office to enhance efficiency and service delivery?
Yes, yes, yes. So that's my complaint. I look at even the website, like it's just not easy to see, to get to where you want to go. And then some things are not up. It says go here, and then it's not available. Really not that much information. And that was another reason why I wanted to run as well, was because yes, we have to be updated with our technology. And like you said, to enhance the efficiency, we as the residents of Salem County deserve that. So I would do everything in my power. There's some things that I'm not technologically great at, but that's why you reach out and you work with people as a team who could see those things that you're interested in changing, can see that it gets done.
Yeah, and a great deal of that is with the Board of Elections as well. They work on a lot of that stuff too. So you kind of work together with them to improve that. Okay, let's see here. I think I said one more question. I see someone said, they said you have my vote, Andrea Robinson.
Thank you, Andrea. You eat too.
I like that. Okay. Before you leave here, Charlyn, what would you like the audience to know about you?
Okay.
What do you want them to leave here with?
I want them to know that that I genuinely care for people and this community. I realize that everyone matters in this community. And like I mentioned earlier about the zip code and it doesn't matter what your zip code is, that we are all entitled to the truth. We're all entitled to the same, whatever one county has, the other should be entitled to the same. So what I want people to know, that with me being in office, that I would be fair. And I am a very good listener. So any of the issues that the residents see, I'm open for that. And I want that feedback, because that's the only way we work together to make change. We work together to eat. We work together to educate. And like I said, accessibility, and to be transparent. So that's what I want people to know.
Ladies and gentlemen, Charlyn Martin, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. Mr. Ledford, let me bring him into the studio. One moment. Our last candidate of the evening. Hi, Mr. Ledford. How are you?
All right. Good afternoon or good evening now. Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulty. I was looking at it. I wasn't looking at it in the app. So it took me all over the place to get in here, but I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. Tell us about yourself. Tell our viewers who you are and why you are running for Salem County
Um,
Commissioner.
yeah, well, I'm Germere Ledford. I was born here in Salem County, born and raised here in Salem County. I'm a resident of Carney's Point Township right now. I'm a graduate of Penns Grove High School. I'm a graduate of Salem Community College, and then I went on to graduate from the University of Maryland at College Park, and then I received my master's degrees from Wilmington University. It was college when I first started, but Wilmington University in special education as well as educational leadership. I'm also an ordained minister. I'm a licensed realtor, and I'm also a real estate investor. And I'm married. My wife June. We celebrated 12 years this year, and or actually be 13 this year. But we've been married for 12 officially, and we have two daughters, Aria and Faith. And that's me in a nutshell.
What made you decide to run for county commissioner?
With the first thing is I decided this year I decided I was going to run for an elected office this year. I didn't know exactly which one in the beginning of the year, but I made that I'm not going to say a resolution, but I just said this year I'm going to run for something for an elected position because I have experience. I worked on I was on the planning board in Carney's Point Township as well as the Recreation Committee. I currently serve on the Calvary Community Development Corporation Board. And through that, I just said I wanted to get more involved in the governance of our community. And what really sparked it was in January, we buried my father out at the Veteran Cemetery and in the Salem County Veteran Cemetery. And when we arrived to walk my father to his final resting place, the sidewalk was a sheet of ice. And my father is a Vietnam veteran, and he was 74, a little bit advanced in age. And so the people there were expected to walk in the snow, because the ice was going to be too much. And then a cousin of mine, who is the Mercer County Commissioner, actually chipped away the ice to clear a walkway for everyone. And at that point, I said to him, I was like, well, send the bills to the Veterans Affairs. And he said, no, I'm going to send a letter to the Commissioners Board. So that was the first time something directly affected me that was under the Commissioners Board purview. It was under their charge. The thing, and Nelson spoke about it, are the potholes. I ride from Carney's Point to Upper Deerfield, where I am the Upper Deerfield Township, where I am the supervisor of the child study team for the school district in Upper Deerfield Township. And I see all these potholes. I got to dodge them at like 6 o'clock in the morning, which is no fun. And once again, going to meetings and finding out that's under the charge of the commissioners. And then the third thing that I said, I'm running for commissioner. A very good friend of mine, his wife had an allergic reaction to a treatment she was getting at her home. And in her home, she's sitting there struggling for her life in front of her children and her husband. And the first ambulance that came up didn't have an EpiPen. Wait on a second ambulance to come with the EpiPen to give her the treatment she needed. And at that point, I was like, we have to do something about this, because these are all things, because like going back to my father, I know his twin sister, my aunt, she knows people pretty high places. And I was like, if we get treated like that, where it's not cleaned off so that we can bury my father with dignity, how are other people getting treated across the county? And then the potholes, I've been working out there 2 years and not one has been filled in. I've been dodging the same ones for 2 years. And the emergency system, I know right now there's a challenge with our emergency personnel throughout the county, you know. So those were the things that really said, you know, I want to run for commissioner, because these things have to get better, because these are services that directly impact people's lives.
Why do you think you're the best candidate for this seat?
Um,
Why should viewers vote for you? Why should voters
I
vote
think,
for you?
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, why I'm saying why should voters vote for you?
I feel as though they should vote for me because I have the skill set, you know, being an administrator in the public education. I understand budgets. I understand grants. I'm also the affirmative action officer, the Title IX officer, the Americans with Disabilities Act officer. So I mediate a lot of times within our district. So I have that skill set and the collaborative nature of being, I've been an educator for 20 years, and the entire time I've been a special educator. And the nature of our process is collaboration. So all the skills I've developed have been in collaboration. Now, the couple things about me, why I feel as though I'm the best candidate, is two things: advocacy and allocation. Now, advocacy, going back to something you started talking about a couple candidates ago, you know, you have to go out and seek the grants. You have to go out and find the money, you know, and you also have to identify the needs so you know what you're going out to look for, right? So advocating, not just understanding the needs and advocating that way, but going out, finding the money, finding the resources to meet the need. And that's something I've done my entire career, and especially as an administrator in special education. And then allocation, you know, I do these things on a daily basis, you know, allocating either human or financial resources on a daily basis to create programs to meet the needs of our most at-risk population in the school system, which is our students with disabilities. So I feel as though those skills will translate very well into a commissioner role, because there's many needs, there's very many diverse needs across Salem County, and making sure to advocate, you know, whether it's local money that's already sitting there or whether we have to go to Trenton, you have to advocate for the grant money that's available and allocate it appropriately. Because I'll give you one example. The road I go on to go to work, to go to 77, out past Daretown. If you're familiar with that area in Salem County, but there's a short road going in there. Potholes is all the way out there, you know. But the cross street going through Aldine, because Nelson mentioned how certain areas get their roads fixed and others don't, and they repaved the cross street, which I've been down that street. It wasn't bad, but the one with the holes on is still untouched. So we have to appropriately allocate the resources to meet the need directly. You know, so those are some of the skills I feel as though make me the best candidate for commissioner.
Okay. Tell our viewers what separates you from your opponent.
What separates me from my opponents? I think it's my approach. I take a well, first let me go back before I get there. I think the one thing that differentiates me is leadership and my style of leadership, because I believe in establishing a vision, because I have yet to find a presentable vision for Salem County and where we want to go. Because I'll just give a quick, the warehouses were mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So there you have both sides. Some want them, some don't, things of that nature. You know, but the thing about it, you have to look at it from a 360-degree perspective, because even though people may not want the warehouses, there's farmers who sold their land to make that happen. So they have an interest in this as well, a financial interest with the property that I get from years or their family purchased. You know, it's part of their rights as well. So when we look at things, we have to look at it from a 360-degree perspective and understand every side. And we have to establish a vision for the county, because from the vision is also going to establish our goals, and it's going to establish what grants we need to go after. What funding do we have to go after? What conversation are we going to have with our L3 representatives, our Congressional District 2 representatives? What are we asking them for? Are we just day to day, or are we fighting for a broader goal for a better Salem County in the future?
Okay. All right, let's take some questions from our viewers. Let's see. All right, here's one for you. This is Mr. Cameron Hudson. How will you get things done on a majority Republican commissioner board?
The way I would get that done is, first of all, we got to get me and Nelson in. So we at least have 3-2. 4-1 is tough. But at the same time, you can still advocate and address the needs even with a 4-1, because the grant money and things that is there, making like the mayors aware of what's available, because it's not only about that vote at the table, it's also about the constituent, the residents, the leadership throughout the county being aware of it and petitioning the board for it. Because it's easy when it's just between the five, and those are the only people who know about it, but when you have the leadership approaching or petitioning the board for specific things, then it's not just 1 or 2 against 3 or 4. It's the leader within the county putting the pressure on the board, if you will. So it's a combination of make awareness, giving awareness to the leadership in the different municipalities, so that they know what's available out there, and also working within the board, to have an amicable relationship with the other board members.
Okay. All right. We have another question from Ms. Omatunde. She said, the special needs community is indeed one of the most vulnerable. Would you consider workplace inclusion for our special needs population? How would you institute the objective?
Well, I would start by connecting them with the local high schools and the local special services, Salem County Special Service School District, as well as the local high schools, so that they can integrate the students into these workplace, because you have to establish what work environments are going to be appropriate, safe, and meaningful to the students. So you establish those relationships between the school districts as well as the different jobs and workplaces within the county to facilitate that happening.
Okay. All right. And let's see, here's another question for you. Cameron Hudson asks, how will you advocate for food security programs and policies and recruit grocery store development in high need areas in Salem County?
I believe that starts with a conversation with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the mayors. I know, probably specifically talking about Penns Grove and Salem, having to sit down with the Chamber of Commerce, as well as the mayors, to come up with a strategy to bring those grocery stores in. Because I'm going to say, up to this point, we collectively haven't been successful, but I would like to have that conversation and include the business community in along with the mayors, so that we could put together a strategy to attract these grocery stores appropriately, and have both the government as well as the business community together working on that.
Okay. We'll do 2 more questions. Let's see. JR says, please address the property tax disparities in the county. Black communities pay twice as much of the tax burden to the county for the same bundle of services.
Well, with the tax or disproportionate taxes, that would be something I would definitely say starts with the county tax assessor, because that has a great deal to do with it as well. But also, making sure that these percentages, because that's what creates the disparities, making sure we break down what are they going to and why the discrepancy exists, is because if there is I'll put it this way, if there is a reason why it exists, then we have to go with that. We have to go with because I'm a data driven person. So if we break down the percentages in each one of the areas where there are discrepancies, and we break it down, well, this much goes to this goes to, and it has to be that way, then so be it. But we definitely want to take a hard, deep dive into that disparity to make sure that there's nothing in that percentage that shouldn't be.
Okay. Last question. How will you address local poor performing school districts not willing to work with local nonprofits or offering services for the youth?
Well, that starts with, I'll say this, that starts with the Board of Education. That's where it starts at. It's boards of education holding superintendent or everyone else below the school board accountable for servicing our youth, because the school board is an elected position. The school boards, even though some people don't believe this, but the school board is the employer of everyone else in that school district. So it begins with a conversation with the school boards to ensure that there's a relationship and there's support for the local youth in that community. So that's where I would start that conversation. I wouldn't go to the superintendents because they work for the school board. I would start there.
Where can viewers learn more about you, Germere?
You can go to Germere Y. Ledford, candidate for Salem County Commissioner, on Facebook.
Okay. All right. What do you want our viewers to know about you before you leave here today?
What I really like to leave with everyone is that I'm up to the task. Unlike some of the other candidates, this is my first candidacy for anything, but I believe I bring the skill set, as well as, the passion for the community and the passion for the county to see it move forward. Because I don't hope I'm not stealing this from Salem, because it's something like this, a slogan I saw at the mayor's ball. But I am someone who, I believe in I believe in preserving Salem County and the good things about it. But I'm also someone who wants to plan for the future.
Ladies and gentlemen, Germere Ledford. You can meet Mr. Ledford tomorrow at the Elks Lodge from 4 to 8, 57 West Main Street in Penns Grove, New Jersey. You can meet the other candidates there as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Ledford, and we look forward to hearing more from you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate everyone who tuned in.
Thank you very much. And everyone, that concludes our interviews for this evening. I just want to remind everyone, once again, voting is Tuesday. So make sure you get out there to the polls. Make sure you get out there to the polls, everybody. Okay? Your vote does count. I'm telling you, one vote, just one, can make a difference. You're looking at her. Well, I had a little bit more than that, but I'm just saying, I'm making a point. One vote can definitely make a difference. So make sure you exercise your right to vote. And everyone, thank you for joining us this evening. Tune in to Daena Talks. We have more guests coming up in the next few weeks. I look forward to sharing that with you. Everyone have a good night and a safe evening.